No one had the camera out there, so we're all good. So, next step. Damn it. Those boards that I've just passed around there, they have a chip on them, which is an ATNT85 chip, I believe, which emulates a keyboard. So you plug them into the computer and it thinks it's a keyboard and it trusts it immediately, which obviously is a huge security flaw when you're doing stuff like this. However, otherwise, plugging in your USB keyboard is going to be a pain in the arse. So, here's an example. Actually, I have a Arduino Elite on there, which is the picture in the middle. So, what's good about the Arduino Elite is, yes, it costs like 30 times those ones. It has dip switches on it, so using the micro SD card slot in the back, you put in an SD card which is preloaded with scripts. Then you use the dip switches to select which script you want to run, of up to 16 scripts. So I'll pass that, take the SD card out first. So I'll pass that around, please be careful. So I prefer that to the USB rubber ducky, because the USB rubber ducky, you can only plug it in and execute one script. And then if you want to execute a different script, you've got to unplug it, plug it into your machine, reprogram it, and then perform the attack again. So with the Arduino Elite, you can have multiple scripts for multiple different scenarios, allowing you to just plug it in, execute whichever script that you need for the situation, and just get out there quickly. So what can they do? Anything you can do with a keyboard in a few minutes, these can do in a few seconds by just plugging them in. So this is an example of a script which is a remote shell netcat script. So that would allow you to gain access to the user, like the target machine, from your own device, opening it up to allow you to remote into their computer and do whatever havoc you want to do. This code executes pretty slowly. In comparison, you can see all the delays in it to ensure that everything's working correctly. However, there is a script which allows you to get a reverse shell within 3 to 5 seconds, which is pretty quick. Demonstration. Those tiny little boards I sent around earlier, I hide them in vape chargers, because no one's going to question if you're trying to quit smoking. However, if I plug this in, plug it in, stand back, Yeah, one of the issues with the £1 bag USBs is they're not very reliable. Sometimes the script doesn't execute in the right order due to the delays. I've got a red light on the Arduino, and now it's flashing saying that it's done. So you can unplug it now. Fake Windows update. It's going to, if you're not familiar with technology to a good advance, that's going to stop people from touching the computer for a few hours. So, as you can see there, the files are labelled 000, 001, in condescending, in some sort of order. And that distinguishes which switches have to be turned on in order to access those scripts. So, if we go to 000, pretty simple script, just pulls up GUI and R, which opens up a run script, delay of half a second, and then it types in a string, which takes it to a web page.
You make these devices yourself, don't you?
Yeah, well, I don't make the actual AT&T boards, but I hide them in these, and it costs like a few pounds to make and makes it a lot less suspicious than plugging in a bare USB, like bare PCB, into someone's machine. They're not going to really care. I do have an updated model where the charging circuitry is still in there, so it just works as a normal vape charger.
The light comes on with the charger.
Yeah, it works perfectly fine, but it's piggybacking off the 5-volt rail on the DigiSparks.
So you can see that the use case for these, if you're doing a pen test where you're actually testing the human firewall, you need to get physical access. So these will come really handy because you've masqueraded a member of staff or management, and you get as close to a computer as you could, have a script on there, you just stick it into a computer wherever you find one, and it'll run the script so you can get any information you need basically on that network.
So, like Matt said, but I prefer to do it a different way. So there's the whole like Mr. Robot thing of dumping a load of these devices on the ground outside the business that you want to gain access to. However, it's actually a lot easier just to put them in a USB case and write someone's name that you know of in the business, and you send them the bad USB in the mail, and then they're going to go, oh, what's this? Exploit the system. So, here's a fun one. So, utilman, does everyone know what utilman is? So the utilman exploit, it basically allows you to plug it into a device that you don't have an account on, and it will create you a new account in layman's terms, so you can access the system. So you can actually run the script on one of these bad USBs. So as you can see here, so GUI indicates that it's pressing the Windows key. So then delay of 50 milliseconds, and it prints CMD, command prompt. Then types in A, enter, left enter, delay 200, and takes out the System 32 utilman exploit, which is what you use to like do some things whilst your computer's locked, and it replaces it with a file that will grant you administrator access, and then it does some more stuff with like naming the user, adding it to the local group, changing directory to the System 32 folder, and deleting the utilman exploits. Well, the utilman, the old files. So then it says Hack5, because this was created by Hack5, who create the bad USB, not the bad USB, the USB rubber ducky.
Has everyone seen a Hack5 kit? What's in it? We've actually got one, the site has got one, so we'll have to get it out at some point so you can have a look at it. There's all sorts in there, something called the land turtle, there's the pineapple, Wi-Fi pineapple, bash bunny, rubber ducky and Oliver.
I actually have some experience with the Wi-Fi pineapple, in which I set up a fake Facebook page, which was an exact clone of the original. And then when people typed in the username and password, it would drop it to a database and then send a request to Facebook with the information that had given to the database. So there would be like a few seconds delay, but if you're using a public Wi-Fi network, which is what the Pineapple emulates, you can expect it to be slow. And then it's going to log in as if normal, just a bit slow. And I'm going to have all your data in a nice, pretty Excel sheet.
How many scripts did you say you get on one of those again?
So the £1 ones which are sent around, you can only put one script on those. Same with the USB rubber ducky. However, the Malduino Elite, you can have up to 16 scripts. The only issue is you've got to flash them to whichever operating system you're going to be attacking. So this one's flashed to Windows, but I can still then have 16 scripts I can choose from while walking in the building and working out different attack strategies. Locksport, another one of my hobbies. Basically I like breaking into things legally. So, here's a lockpicking kit. Here's another one that I don't let people touch because it's a lot more expensive than these ones. But if you can see, I'll pass them around in a minute, you've got different variations of tools. So something like this, that's called a rake, which is for kinetic attacks, which I shall demonstrate in a minute. And a hook, that's used for like single picking. So if you want to pass that around. So then I've got like multiple locks here, some of which are high security locks, some are no-name brand door locks. Pretty easy to get into no-name door locks. Maxus, that one I haven't picked yet, probably because it's full of dirt, but anyway. I then have these custom pinned locks, which I've pinned up with like 2-3 pins, so you can get an idea and like get the feel of lock picking. And then I've got bump keys. I'll pass those keys around so you can have a look at what they look like. Claws, which are a bit of a pain when you're carrying around lockpicks, because if I didn't have this event to go to and present at, I could be in a lot of trouble. So any article for use in the course or connection with any burglary or theft. So basically being out about with lockpicks on you, because you're not in your own home, the police can stop you and say, why do you have lockpicks on you? If that had happened today, I would have got away with it because I've got an event to go to demonstrate it. But otherwise, it's a bit of a pain to get out of that situation. So, 3 years is the maximum prison sentence for going equipped, I believe it's called.
You need a license? Can you get a license to carry these things?
No, it's sort of like you don't need a license to carry them. They're perfectly legal to possess in your own home, but obviously if you're wandering around with a pair of lockpicks in your back pocket acting suspicious, you're going to get arrested.
No good excuse.
Like, you need good reason to carry them around, and I don't believe accidentally is a good reason. How does it work? Here we go. So the bottom thing is a tension wrench, which applies turning force to the lock. And what's happening here is a single pin pick. So you can see by the orange dot thing, not sure how clearly that's showing up, that's the pin that's binding. So what you're doing is you're finding the pin that's binding up and you're pushing it above the shear line. So
kind of specific order, yeah?
Yeah, so they bind up in a specific order, which is something from the manufacturing plant. You can't drill holes in a perfectly straight line. And even if you could, it would make it worse because they'd all bind up at the same time and you can just open them a lot easier.
It looks like a lot like lockpicking flow. Did any of you play Oblivion, the oldest one? Yeah, it's a lot like lockpicking flow, isn't it?
See, I'm glad you didn't say Skyrim there, because that would have really upset me. Because Skyrim lockpicking is highly stupid. Also really annoys me on movies where they run up to a lock with just a lockpick and they're like, oh, I'm in. I'm like, that's not how this works. It's not how any of it works. So, as you can see from this nice GIF here, so the pins drop into the key, which aligns them all with the shear line and allows them to open. So, the pins on the top here, these are called driver pins, which are being pushed down by springs up here. And these are called key pins, because they interact with the key. This is called the plug, and this is called the Bible. Not sure why, but there we go.
Amen.
Yeah. What's next? So, here's a raking attack. As you can see, it's pretty violent, but it gets you in very quickly. So low security locks, such as master locks, God forbid you have one of those on any of your property, you can get them open pretty much instantly with a kinetic attack. A way to prevent this is to use security pins, which I forgot to bring with me. You can slap me later for that. Bump keys, I've passed a few of those around. So what you do is you cut a key to the lowest possible bitting that the lock would have, and then you put a rubber washer on the back so you can like put it into the lock. It bounces all of the key pins up, and what you're hoping for is that they get stuck, like, and bounce the driver pin above the shear line. So it doesn't really work very effectively, but some people swear by it. Personally, I'd rather impression a lock than pick it. I don't have any slides on impression. I'll do that the next talk I do, I guess. There's a thin piece of metal you slide between the hold on here. Let's hope I can pick this quickly so I can get it straight. So this is a kinetic attack. Usually works pretty quickly. However, on some of the cheaper locks, the cores are made out of like cast metal, which tends to bend and break whilst you're trying to put tension on them, which I believe has happened here. This one will work. So usually what I do is I use a rake to get like a fault set in the lock, and then you go to the single pin picking. And as you can see, it's opened. So, I'll pass this around in a minute, but you can see there's like a triangular cutout in each side, which is, there's like a piece of metal inside which is spring loaded that pushes into that cut to prevent the lock opening. But what you can do is you can slide a thin piece of metal down the side and push that out of the way, meaning that you can just pull up on the shackle and it will open. So I'll pass that around. I'll try and pick these whilst I'm talking to allow other people to have a look.
So how long have you been doing this for, Jeff?
Well, I've been doing it for a while. It started off when we were moving out of my old house and we'd lost the keys for the safe. My mum thought she'd left jewellery in there. So I went onto YouTube, as you do, and looked at lockpicking. And picked it pretty quickly with like a £5 kit off Amazon. And then I got like fascinated by how easy it was to pick open this supposedly high security safe. And it all started from there. So now I've got like multiple different tools. I didn't bring my full case with me because that would be highly suspicious. It's like a big black Pelican case, and all that's in there is stuff for defeating locks and doors and all that stuff.
Yeah, just on the back of what Jack was saying with physical security, I've done several years in CCTV, so it's just basically give you a few pointers as budding sort of security analysts of the future to actually point out where you might see the problem. So you'll think of a big business, you might not be able to get into the main office, you might not be able to get past the guard, you might not be able to get into their server room. But you might find that on the top of another building, right close by, they'll have a radio mast which you could probably get into, plug your laptop into, and then suddenly you're into their network. Basic cameras these days, that for less than £100, camera, even over there, will be able to get enough detail on your face for a conviction. Gone are the days of analog sort of cameras where they'll be able to put you on Crime Stoppers for the rest of your life and still nobody would work out who you were. But the thing with cameras these days is that people plug them into the internet. You can get several apps on your phone and then you can have a look at the cameras at your workplace. The problem with that is, if you know what their IP address is, you can then track down and then suddenly you've got access to all their cameras and everything like that. It's just basically going into an office in the future, some of those basic things you have to look at. These are the cameras, are they secure? Yes, they secure the office, but it also means that hackers have got a potential way of looking at the office without actually ever stepping foot inside. Gives them the details of the information of what they're looking at, and then they can judge their hack before you even step foot in the door. I've installed cameras where you pay maybe less than £100 for a camera, the ones dotted around the room. It's got to the point these days that people don't even realise that you'll walk into a room and there'll be several cameras that have just become such commonplace. Same as if you walked into Middlesbrough Town Centre, you would constantly be under a camera and you would not even think about it these days, whereas when they were first installed, everybody complained. One of those things that from my job I do notice them, and you pay several £1,000s for a camera and the detail that you can get is probably working out how many people are on top of Rosebery Topping with a good camera on top of the buildings, whereas the cheaper versions a lot less. They'll do facial recognition, they'll do access control, so just working out that you walk up to a building, be able to work out who you are and be able to unlock a door before you even get there. And that's with the cheaper versions that you can buy. Some of the market is being flooded with a lot of research these days, so you can find with what's called a PTZ camera, which is a pan, tilt and zoom. These sort of cameras can actually then track you around sites, and even with a cheap radar system from the same makers, if you lead a camera off to one area, like when it's tracking you, then you can get a radar system that will lock onto your friend behind you that's sneaking around the back of the camera. As you become more aware of security analysts, you'll probably become more aware of cameras and what they can do in their performance.